the meeting to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Steve Eisenbarth.
Present.
Robert Pope. Aaron Tevabaugh.
Present.
Don Loudon.
Present.
Greg Zuzan.
Present.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a special employee recognition, 25 years, to our very own Mike Tully. Ryan, would you like to speak on that?
I would, please. For those of you who don't know Mike has worked for the town of Avon for 25 years. He was actually the first employee of the town of Avon. And Mike's a special guy. If you don't know him, you need to get to know him. Not only is he the hardest worker probably at this town, he knows everything about anything you would ever need to know. He's probably... Yes, sorry, Vic. I know you don't appreciate that, but all of you who've lived in Avon, Mike has probably inspected your house, and he knows exactly what the footprint of your house looks like. He's got a mind. He remembers everything. It's a little creepy, but also super cool. He is, not only is he just a fantastic guy, but Mike is, I think you're the only certified inspector in the state of Indiana. And not only is he the only one, but he's been the only one for at least the 21 years that I've worked here. He's always been a certified inspector. We've been fortunate to have Mike. I've never once in my 21 years of working here ever received a complaint of a lack of professionalism. Mike goes above and beyond in providing customer service. This is one of the reasons we put him in a leadership role here at the town as well, because he cares so much about what he does. Not only does he work 50 hours of work here, but he goes home on his weekends and he actually processes permits when he's not here. Besides the fact that he's been ordered by numerous bosses to stop doing it, he doesn't because he's just that dedicated to his job. He doesn't listen to his kids either. So I can't say it enough that this town has been blessed and fortunate to have somebody like Mike Tully. And he tells me all the time he's never going to retire. And I hope that's true because we could probably never fill the shoes that he's filled here. Certainly, I know Nate is trying to fill those shoes, but it's a heavy thing. So I won't talk too much more, but I just really want to say that, Mike, thank you for your years of service. I know what I'm about to give you doesn't make up for it, but hopefully it's at least a small token to say thank you.
It's been my honor and my privilege to work for this town. It's been, when I came out here in '96, I wasn't looking for a job. I was looking for a career, and this town gave me one. And there's not a day that I don't worry about and think about what I have to do and what my responsibilities are. I want this town to prosper, and I want to do my part to help that. So I want to thank you all for this very much. Sorry I didn't prepare.
Why don't we take a pause and we'll let Mike get some pictures with his family.
Yeah, we'll be in front of your logo this time.
Are we on pause then?
I'm waiting for the Rolex, actually. I don't have any, you don't have a Rolex? Do you have an impound? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Always doing great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
Okay, meeting's called back to order, and we'll go ahead and proceed with the agenda. We have an Arbor Day Proclamation.
Yeah, I'll just read it really quick. This is part of our Tree City USA. So every year we're supposed to do a proclamation for Arbor Day. We did have an Arbor Day event. The Parks Department coordinated that. So thanks to Kim and Delbert for handling that. I'll just do a quick read of the proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, as well as produce oxygen and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resources, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas Avon is the first tree city USA in Hendricks County and has achieved this designation every year since 2007. Now, therefore, the Town Council of Avon does hereby proclaim April 30th, 2021 as Avon Arbor Day in the town of Avon, and we urge all citizens to honor this day in recognition of all the big trees of Avon, the increase in awareness of the benefits of our urban forest, and to support efforts to protect our trees in woodlands. And further, we urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to bring joy to life and promote the welfare of our generation and future generations.
Thank you, Ryan. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have any discussion from anyone on that?
No, if not, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the check register for 5/6/21, the minutes from our 4/22 meeting, the Parks at Wind Farm Section 2 bond release, and the declaration of surplus property from the police department.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Greg Zuzen,
For.
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Aaron Teveba,
For.
Steve Eisenbarth.
For.
Next is public comment. Do we have anyone that would like to come forward and address the council? No one coming forward. We'll go ahead and close public comment and move on to council comment and liaison reports. Aaron, you want to start us off?
Just say congratulations to Mr. Tully for his 25 years this evening. That's an awesome accomplishment. Not sure how he made it this whole time because there's been ups and downs here at the town over the last 25 years, but very proud of all of our staff and appreciate their work.
Thank you. Robert?
Actually, that's the same thing. I wanted to say congratulations to Mike. I think I joked with him earlier. I said, outside of breathing, I don't think I've done anything for 25 years. So that's amazing. And I have no liaison reports.
Great, thank you. Greg?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Steve?
Well, in that same spirit, definitely Mike on his reports. He always comes up and it's amazing to see how many permits and what he does along that time. So I'll leave my comments to that too.
I agree. We do thank Mike and we're lucky to have him. And I think with that, we'll close the council comment and liaison reports.
Apparently, I have a few more.
Oh, all right.
Police highlights. The police department received their grant reimbursement this week for over $40,000 from the state of Indiana. This was awarded for increased traffic enforcement on 36 and Ronald Reagan Parkway. The Citizens Academy wrapped up week 5 this week. I have a very engaged group and things are going well this session. The police department wants to have a discussion regarding authorizing a hiring process soon within the next month or so. And Officer Orion Elder just completed the drug recognition expert school last week. Certification is part of the police department's campaign against dangerous and impaired driving in Avon. That's all I have.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, there was no old business to discuss, so we'll move on with new business. The first, we will talk about our board and commission appointments. We need to fill a BZA vacancy. We have MPO appointments and potential liaisons to discuss.
Do you have any list of candidates?
So, yeah, the BZA appointment is a council president appointment, so I think Dawn's got somebody.
Right, and so I reached out to someone that I saw this week during our Leadership Hendricks County meeting, and that was Marcus Turner, and he said that he would be willing to fill for the next year and a half the position that Tara is vacating. So we'll go ahead and place Marcus in that role. And,
We're not blindsiding Marcus. are we?
no, I asked him while we were
I
at the
assume so. I
meeting.
just-
Yes.
He's used to doing that.
Sure, I'm just making
So,
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
He was kind of excited about helping out and filling in. And, with his experience, I think it's an easy fit.
Yes.
And he understands that it's like a year and a half remaining on that commission or board. Let's see. Next, we have the MPO. Ryan, you want to talk about that? Basically, we need to move some people around because we weren't fully staffed at the time when we were setting these up in January, so we need to make just a few shifts.
Correct, yeah. In January, when the council made appointments, there's two boards with the MPO. There's the policy board, and then there's a technical committee. And so at the time, we didn't have a public works director, so the town council appointed me as the policy representative. They appointed Bill Peoples as the backup to policy. And then on the technical committee, you appointed me as the technical committee, and you also appointed Gerald as the backup. You're welcome to leave Bill as the backup for the policy, but I would probably recommend that you appoint Steve Moore to be the backup to policy, and then that the town council appoint Steve Moore as the primary member for the technical committee.
With
And then leave
as
Gerald
backup.
as the backup.
Yeah, Steve's got very good technical background, so that makes sense.
Any other discussion on that?
If I heard you correctly, nominate Steve for both of these.
That would be my recommendation. If the council wanted Bill to be the backup, the MPO is more of a transportation planning versus planning. I know in some other communities, they do have their planners as their backups to policy. So you could leave Bill as the backup, or you could do Steve, either or. It's the same information. It's just a difference in how you vote. So I think you could do it either way, whatever the council was comfortable doing. If you wanted 4 people, just so we know we have a lot of people, you can do it that way. Or if you're comfortable with Steve, that's fine too.
I'm okay with Brian's recommendations on these. Do you guys all
Yep.
agree?
No, I agree.
Do we need to vote on that? Or we do? Then I'll make a motion that we nominate Steve Mora as the backup for our RITC Policy Committee, as well as Steve nominated for the IRTC Technical Committee primary. Is that worded well? Right on.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Julie, would you please take roll call?
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon.
4. I think that was all of those, correct?
That was it. The only other one is if the council would like to have a discussion, if you see at the very bottom, at the
Oh, yeah.
bottom, if you guys want to have a discussion about it, this was something that actually came up that I didn't have a technical appointment to the CICEO. And then I know you guys have some liaisons to other people, but we didn't have one for the township, the library, or the Chamber of Commerce. I know, I think Greg had kind of
Greg is
pseudo served in the
chamber.
past as chamber, but I didn't see it on my list, so I put it there, but no, I was gonna say, I think John has been
John, or
attending as
you?
well, yeah, or
Yeah.
I've attended as well, so I didn't know if you guys wanted to make those appointments, just, I cleaned up my list, and so I just noticed those things. You can if you want, or you don't have to, it's up council's discretion.
Sure, I was approached also about the CICEO, so I would like to go ahead and be the rep for that. Robert, you mentioned that you would like to,
Yeah, we actually discussed in January sort of creating that township liaison, and I volunteered to jump into that role. So I feel like I'm already there. I've already been appointed to that. I have also sat down with Laurel to try to build a relationship with the library. So I don't mind stepping into that role either for both the township and the library.
is there anyone else that wants?
I got you down for the chamber too, if you want it.
Is there anyone else that wants to step in for library?
Yeah, I
Right.
appreciate that. I'm just volunteering. I'm not trying to take that.
No,
away from someone
I think
with
you're great.
excitement.
If you don't mind doing it, that's good.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And Greg, will you continue with chamber?
That's fine.
Okay.
Greg, were you the chamber person though, or was John technically the chamber person? I think you
John is, and if he's not there, then I am by default. And tomorrow morning's our meeting.
Yeah, John's going to.
Okay. So put John Taylor down there.
Yeah, I was just saying, let's put John, so that's not a conflict for you, Greg.
Okay.
Is that do we need another? Nope.
No, not
I
for
didn't think
those.
so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All All right, I think that wraps up board and commission, so we'll move on to award bids for the 2021 crack seal project.
Yeah, I'm going to handle these. Steve asked me to pass on his apologies. He's still tightening up his relocation situation, so he's actually in a flight on his way to Florida at the moment. Then Gerald was actually going to fill his shoes, but Gerald just, if you saw, he poked his head in during the work session, and his son called and he had to pick up his son, so he actually had to leave. So they apologize that they're not here, so I'm going to try to fill their shoes. The first one is the crack seal project. This is our annual crack sealing project. And, of course, part of our goal for our road maintenance is to keep our good roads good. And so these projects that are on here are our preservation projects. And so we did bid the crack sealing project, and we got 5 bids. The low bidder was F.E. Harding, or the Harding Group, for not to exceed $75,143.30. We did budget $100,000 in the maintenance improvement plan, and so it did come in under budget. I will mention that there was an alternate, and we do want to award that alternate, and that's for cleaning the cracks. We call them joints, and so there's joints between the curb and then the actual asphalt. And if we don't do that, you'll see weeds and stuff growing up out of them. So we want to clean those and then seal them, and that's actually helps us work better. So we would recommend doing that, which is why we are recommending the Harding Group. If you notice, the American Pavements was actually less expensive on the base bid, but we want to be able to do that joint cleaning to make sure that it helps our roads last longer. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
We had a problem last year with one of our crack seal projects. Was that one of these companies?
Yes, it was American Pavements.
Okay.
They would have been the low bidder. We may have addressed it in a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing, what about the engineer's estimate being just almost twice the amount of the base bid there? Is there any reason why that was so high on the engineer's estimate?
No, the engineer's estimate's really hard for crack sealing because you don't know exactly how many square yards of cracks you'll actually fill. So he's doing it based on an assumption over a certain number of square yards.
Mhm.
So from his perspective, he's guessing worst case scenario. So when the contractors actually go out, they're going to say, we don't think we need that much crack fill material, which means their cost is less. So traditionally, we've had a hard time doing our engineer's estimates for crack sealing. It's just a difficult process. So, but we're not concerned about it.
Could that be a positive byproduct of keep the good roads good?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, the less cracks we're filling, the better. Yeah.
No, they have the map there showing all the locations, and as long as the inventory was right, and just like what Robert covered, that we avoid the past problem of over applying and too much sand and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
We've used Harding Group before.
Yeah, actually, so last year was the first year in about 8 years that we didn't use Harding Group, and they were undercut by American Pavements, but we ran into some problems with the material they were using and the way they were actually applying it. They actually weren't following our specifications, which created some issues as well. So we are happy that they were not the low bidder on this.
I can make a motion unless there's any other comment. I'd like to make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation to award the project to Harding Group for not to exceed $75,143.30.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Don Loudon,
4.
Aaron Teveball,
Form.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth.
4.
Okay, awarding bid for the Preservation Seal project.
Yeah, so this is the second one. This is, we use what's called a Preservative Seal that we apply to the roads. This one actually covers the entire street. It helps soften the pavement. So the two things that cause pavement to deteriorate, one is when there's cracks, waters get in that crack, causes potholes, water gets underneath. The other is that when the sun beats down on the asphalt, it dries it out. It kind of starts getting a real white color. And so when we put down this preservative seal, it actually darkens it up, and it actually puts elasticity back in the pavement. So when it has elasticity, then it moves with the vehicle versus getting brittle and hard and cracking. And so this has also been part of our Good Roads Good program for about the last 18 years, and we found that it's a fantastic product. So I kind of didn't mention it on the crack seal project, but between the crack seal and the preservative seal, in a 6-year period, we will crack seal and preservative seal every road in the town. So everybody will see these two things happening in their neighborhoods at least twice every 6 years. So we do kind of have a rotating schedule where we hit those as well. So this one, the one thing about it is the product that we specify, there are some alternatives that contractors can bid, but usually we do only get one bidder who does it because they have territories. And so like Ohio, they have someone who handles Ohio roads, and in Indiana, we have this particular person, which is RejuveTech, but they've been applying the material for us for about the last 18 years. And actually, quite frankly, they've been very good to us. We were one of the first people using this product in the state, and so they've actually kept their prices really low, and so we appreciate that. And so you'll see that their bid was $224,489.76. And again, this is part of our maintenance improvement plan program, and it came in a little bit under budget as well. So staff does recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm glad to see that both bids have come in under engineering budgets. That's helpful.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a nice,
If we could get future bidders on this, I don't, proprietary, I know there are alternatives and there's benefits to each of them. It would be nice to have some other bids on these in the future, but otherwise, I don't, everything else looks good.
if there's no more discussion, would someone like to make a,
I'll make a motion. We award the bid for the 2021 Preservative Seal project to RejuveTech and to not exceed the amount of $224,489.76.
do we have a first? Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Aaron Teveball.
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
Steve Eisenbar.
4.
Don Loudon.
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4.
Moving on with more pavement. We're talking about pavement marking projects now.
Yes, this is the third one, and as you guys know, the pavement marking project has been challenging the last few years. People have been getting out of the market with all the additional work that NDOT's been doing. They've kind of been eating up the capacity of pavement markers. So we've kind of switched this. We kind of used to do it in the summer, and we've now kind of moved it to the spring to hopefully entice people to bid. We've had problems getting good bids. We did send it to actually 4 different contractors. There's 3 main contractors in Indianapolis area who are pretty big. Obviously, 2 of them didn't even bid on the project, which means they probably didn't have the capacity to do it, which is fine because typically if they do bid it, it drives up the cost quite a bit. But this contractor, Indiana Sign and Barricade, has done work for the town before, and they're one of kind of the big 3 in Indianapolis. So we're comfortable that they're capable of doing the work. Their bid was slightly higher than what our engineer's estimate was, but again, that's probably just the market and the fact that we only got 1 bid. We don't have any concern with it. As Steve mentioned here in his memo, it's about 8.6% above the engineer's estimate for the project. The council approves a total maintenance improvement plan budget, which is over $2 million. So we are able to fluctuate within that $2 million to be able to cover these costs. Amongst other things, we're doing pothole patching, snow removal, tree trimming, other programs that we offer as part of that maintenance improvement plan. So based on where we're at, we're really at the beginning of the season of spending that money. So we don't have a concern with awarding this project. The only other alternative is to rebid it. And really at this point, rebidding it is a risk because we may get nobody to bid it because as more projects get awarded, then their capacity goes down or their prices are going to go up. So it is our recommendation to still award the project to Indiana Sign and Barricade for an amount not to exceed $191,259.30. I'm happy to answer any questions.
It's a tight market. It's a really tight market. I see it in my world that I understand why we get into this situation. It's uncomfortable. I'll just say this for me, to have just a bid like that, but I can understand it.
If I recall, we sort of had the same situation happen last year, and we chose not to award any bid. We I don't believe we did any of this last year, any of the markings. Am I correct?
We did end up doing some. I think we actually bid it twice last year and we ended up having to come back with a reduced project, but we did award and do some of it.
Okay.
And so, but we use paint, which typically only lasts about a year. And so we do try to restripe our streets every year. It's a big safety issue for us to try to make sure that we're doing that. I know I did talk to Steve. Steve wasn't a part of putting the package together. And I know Steve, if he would be here, he'd probably tell you, he'll look at it and may try to see if he can find some cost savings or if there's what things to not do. He may shift some stuff around. We can still reduce that cost. So I think Steve will look at that. But ultimately, you still have to award the bid amount, which is what was approved. But Steve may bring it in at less than what we've got here as well.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Any more discussion? With none, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to award the bid for the 2021 pavement marking project to Indiana Sign and Barricade not to exceed the amount of $176,000, $176,132.
Second.
No. That's the engineer's estimate.
I'm sorry, that was what was written here. Forgive me, let me correct that.
191, yeah.
Let me correct that amount to not to exceed $191,259.30.
Do you second again?
Second.
Thank you. Julie?
Robert Pope,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4.
All right, next on the agenda is the acceptance of the annexation petition for the property at Ronald Reagan Parkway and US 36.
Yes, we had a property owner who reached out. The council's seen this in the past. Somebody has bought these properties that are right at the northeast corner of Ronald Reagan Parkway and US 36. And so they had actually reached out to the county because one of the parcels is in the county, the other parcel is in Avon, and the county directed them to us. So I know they've had some conversations with Bill about what they may be able to do or not do with the project. So Bill's having those discussions, but I did encourage them to still annex the property anyway, because whatever they would want to do, they're not going to be able to do it without being in Avon. So they did file an annexation petition with us, and so you have to move forward with the annexation.
This is the land that was formerly owned by Citizens Bank.
Yes, so apparently they sold it to somebody.
I think it's
Is
great.
this legal description the correct legal description since the state has acquired some land for 36 improvements?
This isn't a true legal description. We'll actually write a real legal description. We'll have our engineers write a legal description, and so we'll verify that. That's just what was provided by the property owner. So I wouldn't expect that that's correct. It's showing a part of the parcel that's already in the town of Avon in the map that you're looking at, so.
It's
Because when you look at it, it shows 4 residential vacant unplatted lots. I'm like, and
Yeah,
then they
4
want
lots, yeah.
a potential use as a community grocery store, a restaurant, retail, light commercial. Is NDOT going to give them road cuts?
Nope.
No, that's what they've already had discussions with NDOT, and NDOT has basically told them no. We've also told them no, that they won't have access to Reagan as well. They are worked with the property owner next door, which is PCCom, and they've talked about sharing that access, which they could do. They did, I know, talk to Bill as well about access to the cul-de-sac, and I think Bill discouraged them from doing that. But they were going to kind of work through some other options and look at what they may be able to do with the property. We will not do a rezoning. I mean, they'll have to go through a separate rezoning property. Just because they put that on their petition doesn't mean that, well, it'll actually get that zoning.
Is this going to cause more issues for the town by annexing this property in than leaving it out?
No.
Because
don't think
my
so.
opinion is, I don't think you can put anything there because you can't get access to it.
Right.
Agreed. And you know what the advantage of it is for the future build of that area. That's the nightmare of the state, basically, for a traffic standpoint. So that gives opportunity to have some some usage of that area there for future, whether we're going to do grade separation or whatever, it gives us some control over it rather than someone else developing on it. Then all of a sudden we have to fight for that. So I think it's wise for us in the circumstances to take it. I know what you're saying. Utility, we're not getting utility out of this particular
Well, when we
land.
looked at, when we were approached to acquire this, the best use we could see was a pocket park.
Yeah,
To me, I couldn't see putting a pocket park at the busiest intersection in the state of Indiana,
no.
or soon to be.
Yeah,
That
that's-
didn't make any sense. So,
It's hard to debate what to do with the land, but I think it's better that we don't want someone to go in there that,
well, I agree with what you're saying. He could start there and just start going down the road to start to acquire all these properties to finally get enough land to provide himself access to build something there. So,
Which is why we'd like to annex it, so that we have the ability to control whatever develops there then.
Any more discussion, or would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept recommendation in the voluntary annexation petition as presented. Do I need to name the parcel or no? Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Julie, would you take roll call, please?
Don Loudon,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4,
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
My table's singing. Does anyone
I
else
can hear it.
this? Yeah. Next on the agenda is the approval of the Leo Brown Group tax abatement for 2021, payable 2022.
Yeah, so this is an annual effort that the council needs to do to reestablish the tax abatement for the Leo Brown Group. Just as a reminder, the Leo Brown Group is the medical facilities just north of County Road 100 North. They have consistently actually exceeded what they had proposed to us in the original tax abatement. They've actually, their payroll's higher, their construction value is higher. And so it is staff's recommendation that we approve and continue the tax abatement for the Leo Brown Group.
how many years are left to this, or what year are we at on it?
You gonna ask me that, Greg?
It says since May 15th, 2010.
Looks like 2010, so yeah, this may actually
This is
be
the last year
it
then?
may be the last year or the second to last year for that.
Okay. So we're getting either 80 or 90% of our.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll verify that for you, Greg. That's one of the things we're doing with all the tax abatements. We're creating a spreadsheet to track them.
Generally, we have somebody from HCEDP that comes in and sort of vouches for them. I know they're going through some staffing changes. Have we heard from the partnership, their thoughts on this? I can't imagine it would be anything but approval, but
Yeah, we've tried to change that process a little bit. Instead of having the Hendricks County Economic Development Partnership actually come in and advocate on behalf of them, we've kind of brought that in-house. So John and I are actually reviewing these and saying,
Okay.
do we believe they've met their requirements
Okay.
or not? So we didn't invite them to attend, but I think they asked us that question, like, do they need to come? And we told them, no, they didn't need to. So that's why they're not here.
okay. All right.
I make a motion to approve the Leo Brown Group tax abatement for 2021 payable in 2022 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Julie?
Aaron Teveba,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4,
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope.
4.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-12, which is declaring an economic revitalization area, Chicago Industrial Investments LLC.
Yes, so this is starting the new process for a new tax abatement. I think the council's familiar with Avon Logistics. This is the project down on County Road 100 South, north of 100 South. This is their first building. And so they are bringing it forward, requesting a tax abatement. They're asking for the standard tax abatement. This is just the declaratory resolution for the tax abatement. So this is just starting the process. We'll then advertise it, and then the council will actually have to have a public hearing and then confirm the resolution to actually make the tax abatement go into effect, which we're proposing to do at the May 27th council meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm confused. It says Chicago Industrial, which is on the Mormon Church property on 100 South, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
But then in the write-up, it identifies Lot 1, Building 2 of Avon Logistics. Isn't that off of Ronald Reagan? Avon Logistics?
No, Avon Logistics is, Reagan Logistics is off of Reagan.
Reagan, okay.
Avon Logistics is north of 100 South.
Okay, thank you.
It's confusing.
I have the correct logistics now, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to get confused with all the logistics parks now.
It's a popular title.
Creative naming as well, so.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-12, declaring an economic revitalization area, Chicago Industrial Investments.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Julie?
Robert Pope,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4,
Aaron Tevenbaugh,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Steve Eisenbarth.
4.
Next is a final adoption of Ordinance 2021-08, American Recovery Plan Fund creation.
Yes, I know we've talked a lot about the American Rescue Plan. The first step in that process is for the council to create a fund for it. And so you actually introduced this at a previous meeting. And so this is your final step in creating the fund. It's required by the law and for Julie to be able to receipt the funds, which we hopefully get here in the next 30 days. And so we'll have a place to actually receipt it and start tracking the funding as we're required by the act.
And the second paragraph is still blank, so it is okay to go ahead and proceed with adoption of the ordinance with no monetary value there, correct?
We'll write that in when we get the official.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
No, with that clarification, it's clear.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We adopt ordinance 2021-08, the American Recovery Plan Fund creation.
Second.
Thank you. First and second, Julie, would you take a roll call, please?
Robert Pope,
4.
Aaron Tevenbaugh,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4,
Steve Eisenbarth,
4.
Don Loudon.
4. Legal counsel report. Mitchell?
Nothing for you tonight.
Thank you. Second public comment. No one coming forward. We'll close that. Council comment.
Way to
Quiet
go,
group.
Mike.
Quiet group.
I have a couple things. I was talking to Ryan, and I think we need to put into one of our work sessions topics that we would like our state rep and our state senator to talk about at the next legislative session. One of them is obviously unification, and we know it's going to take a couple of those sessions, and with them just completing the budget, that certainly frees up the first meeting of next year. So if we can get this presented in the second session coming up, and then 2 more sessions next year, that might assist us in getting the word out. The other thing, like I said earlier, is we need to invoice the county their $875,000 for their June 1st payment for 100 South. And then lastly, I've been in conversations with the developer of the Costco development in Upfront. And he asked me if we had any assistance for restaurants. And I know that we had set aside, $500,000 or some dollar amount for economic development. And we could create something that would assist them if, like the simple thing is a facade, more of an older building, but to fix a facade or the looks. And as an example, if it cost $200,000, they'd pay 100, we would pay 100. But I think, I won't say who it is, but there was a restaurant that is new, that would not be a duplication, that was going to come here and may go down the road. And I said to him, I said, well, call them up and we'd be happy to consider some type of program to work together with them. So it would be different, it would be unique. There's only one in the state, so, we hear from our constituents and our residents, we want diversity, we want something different. This is certainly going to meet that bill, so those are the things, if we could talk, you can talk with John about, and we can get on our next work session agenda. That's all I have.
Thank you. Good ideas. Council calendar, Ryan.
I don't have anything. Next council meeting is May 27th at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.